The 95th Academy Awards are almost here. Once that show's over, it's really time to look forward at the films of 2023. But before we get there, I wanted to talk about my very favorite films of 2022. So I saw about 100 films released last year, and I thought it was time to make a video talking about the ones I loved the most. So we're going to break this down in two ways. We're going to start with number 11 to 22 in alphabetical order, and then I'll talk about my top 10 films of the year. Here we go. So what made my alphabetical runners-up list? We really did have an extraordinary year in film last year because there's easily 5 or 6 more titles I would say I loved that didn't even make the runners-up list. After Sun is not here. RRR is not here. Decision to Leave is not here. And Women Talking is not in my runners-up list. Even though all 4 of those films are worthy, I just found a few other titles I loved a little bit more. So let's start at the top in alphabetical order with Babylon. So I felt like the last hour lost its way a little bit for me, and I didn't love that last scene as much as many other people did, but for about 2 hours, this is an extraordinary roller coaster ride of a movie. If you love cinema, it's a great watch. It's got an amazing ensemble cast. This one got really close to my top 10. It'd be at like number 12 or 13. Babylon is a great movie. It should have a lot more than just 3 Oscar nominations. Margot Robbie is just fantastic in this. Great ensemble cast. And Damien Chazelle has made another terrific film. Bros. Boy, did this movie play well for me the weekend it came out. I was laughing, I was crying. It's one of the best romantic comedies we've had in years, and as a gay person, I was just really happy to see that kind of representation in a studio romantic comedy. That was great. I haven't really thought about the movie that much since. Like, I loved it when I watched it, and then immediately it just kind of flew away from my mind. I haven't really thought about it much since September, so that's why it didn't make my top 10. It's just not as memorable as some of these other movies. But if you haven't seen it yet, like, do yourself a favor, check out Bros. It's very funny, very witty, great script. I'm just happy that the movie exists, honestly. I think it would have changed my life if a movie like that had come out when I was in high school or college. Bros gets my highest recommendation, one of the great comedies of 2022. Cha-Cha Real Smooth. This was an indie comedy drama that came out last June that I was really taken with. Wonderful writing. I was really struck especially by the Dakota Johnson supporting performance. I thought she should have gotten some awards buzz for that movie. I thought she was really great in it, and I really enjoyed all of the little twists and turns along the way. I feel like it's been forgotten about. Like, come July, August, we were on to other things. But Cha-Cha Real Smooth was a great discovery last summer on Apple TV Plus. If you haven't seen it yet, check it out. Fire Island. Speaking of great gay films, not only was there Bros, but there was also Fire Island, which I feel like months later, when I think back on those two movies, I think I might love Fire Island even more. Bowen Yang is so great in that movie. It's very much a summer movie. I feel like Fire Island works best if you watch it in the summer months. It just really transports you to that location. Excellent LGBTQ representation throughout the film. It's very heartwarming, well written. I was so happy to see it get nominated at the Independent Spirit Awards. And so, yeah, Fire Island was another great watch last summer. I highly recommend it. Fire of Love was my favorite documentary I saw last year. I still haven't seen All the Beauty and the Bloodshed. I guess that's dropping in the next few days. I will finally get to see it. Navalny is really excellent too. I also love Senior and All That Breathes. But my favorite of the bunch is Fire of Love. I really enjoyed how it was cut together, how it presented this love story in kind of a very matter-of-fact way, but it still tugs on your heartstrings. I really enjoyed how at the end you still feel kind of uplifted by their story, even though there is tragedy involved. And all of the archival footage and the pictures. I think this movie is deserving to win the Oscar for Best Documentary Feature. I thought it was fantastic. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio is my favorite animated film from 2022. I also really like Turning Red and Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. But the one I will take with me, the one that I think that really exceeded my expectations, is Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio. I think it took an old story we all know and made it fresh again. The look of the animation is so striking. The voice acting is top-notch. Great ensemble there. And I just found it a very moving film. Animated or not animated, it was just one of the great films I saw last year. Guillermo del Toro's Pinocchio, which should be winning Best Animated Feature at the Oscars, is a must-see. Don't watch the other one, directed by Robert Zemeckis. Watch the Del Toro version. It is amazing. Nope, written and directed by Jordan Peele, would be very close to my top 10. It's probably my number 11. I really love that film. Was really taken with that story and that cast of characters and all the twists and turns, and the cinematography and the sound design of this movie are just stunning. They should be nominated for Oscars. That scene in the TV studio is probably one of the top 3 scenes of any movie of last year. I have not stopped thinking about it. And I just feel like the movie as a whole has just been wired into my brain. So many great creative choices. I feel like it could be a little bit shorter in the second half, a little bit tighter, but this is another home run for Jordan Peele. I love this guy. I can't wait to see another 30 films from him. Keep it coming, Jordan Peele. You are a master. The Northman came out way back in April, but I have not stopped thinking about it. I think it's one of the great films of last year. Robert Eggers is a genius. Speaking of great cinematography, holy cow, is the cinematography in The Northman just outrageously amazing. And for that film to not get into Best Cinematography at the Oscars, maybe cinematography just needs to be 10 films, not 5. There are so many great shots in that movie I've not forgotten. It's a great story, well told, excellent cast. If for some reason you missed that one, go back and check out The Northman. You'll be glad you did. Resurrection is another pretty small movie that I didn't know much about until I watched it on Shudder a few months ago. And boy, did that movie take me on a wild ride with an incredible lead performance by the great Rebecca Hall. 2 years now, she's given one of the best performances of the year. In 2021, it was The Night House, and then 2022, it was Resurrection. I just feel like not enough people saw these movies, and there is that genre bias as well. Resurrection is not a horror film, but it is a thriller, and it's very intense. It goes to some places that you're not expecting. There is a supernatural bent to the movie in the third act, so it's really tough to get nominated for movies like this. Like when Toni Collette did not get an Oscar nomination for Hereditary, I said it's over. Like, it's over. Like, you can't get nominated anymore for a genre movie. Like, it just seems to be impossible now. Like, I really hope that Rebecca Hall's time is coming. She's a brilliant writer-director, as she showed with Passing, and she did a great job in Resurrection. It's a really well-written, well-acted thriller I highly recommend you check out. She Said floored me. I saw it a little bit later. I didn't see it till January, till it dropped on Peacock. And I did not take my eyes off the screen. I forgot about my phone. I forgot about my life. I just became completely immersed in that story and the performances by Zoe Kazan and Carey Mulligan. And oh my God, how great is Samantha Morton in her one scene in that movie? Like, I felt it was at the level of like a Beatrice Straight and Network kind of a scene. And for Morton to just be completely ignored during awards season for She Said is kind of insane. She Said is one of the great journalism films of the last 10 to 20 years. I can't wait to see it again. Top Gun Maverick was the best of the big blockbusters last summer. I remember in the months leading up to it, I didn't really care that much. I like the first Top Gun from 1986, but it's not one of my favorites. I was born in 1984, so I was a little bit young for Top Gun of the 80s. I didn't see it till much later. I liked it, but, you know. So when I saw that a new one was coming out, I was like, yeah, maybe. I wasn't that interested in it, but wow, did that movie deliver? Did that movie deliver on a level I don't think anybody was expecting? Like, Tom Cruise and company just knocked that one out of the park. Just one of the great blockbuster entertainments we've had in the last few years. I'm so happy that it really got people back to the theater last summer, as it should have. Top Gun Maverick is one terrific film. And the last film in my runners-up list is The Woman King. I love The Woman King. Viola Davis gives a tremendous performance in this. The whole cast is fantastic. The direction, the writing, the action scenes, the quiet moments of drama. I just thought everything worked in this movie. I'm still really pissed that this movie was completely ignored at the Oscars. I think it should have gotten into at least 2 or 3 technical categories like costume design. Viola Davis, of course, deserved to be in Best Actress. Can we make Best Actress 10 nominees too? I feel like Best Actress needs to be more as well. Like, we didn't get Danielle Deadwyler, we didn't get Viola Davis, we didn't get Margot Robbie. I mean, isn't it tough to whittle it down every year to just 5 performances? Viola Davis was deserving. This is a great movie to watch with your whole family. I'm so happy it exists, and it just barely didn't make my top 10. It'd be like number 13 or 14. The Woman King is spectacular. Now, that takes us to the top 10 list. My 10 favorite films of 2022, starting with number 10 and working our way all the way up to number 1. My number 10 pick of the year is Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Like Cha-Cha Real Smooth, this film dropped pretty quietly last June, but boy, is it a special film. It kind of reminded me of the Before Sunrise trilogy by Richard Linklater. A lot of it is 2 people talking in a room, talking about their lives, their relationships, romance, and the 2 lead performances are fantastic. Emma Thompson, I don't think has been this good since maybe like the 90s. Like, I love her performance in Saving Mr. Banks too, but I just thought she was at another level in Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. Also, Daryl McCormick is a great find. I want to see him in more movies. He's very attractive and very charismatic, and I thought he was really great in this too. I was so happy to see both of them get nominated at BAFTA. If you have not seen this film, do yourself a favor. It is well worth watching. A great story, well written, well acted. Good Luck to You, Leo Grand. I loved it. My number 9 film is The Menu. This movie is a wild ride. I adore The Menu. Another one, kind of like how I talked about with She Said, The Menu is a movie that I never looked away from the screen. I forgot about my life. I forgot about everything. I just became totally involved in that story and all of the little surprises along the way. What a great cast. Ray Fiennes, Hong Chow, Anya Taylor-Joy. Nicholas Hoult is really good in this movie. I loved his performance, the way he played that character. It's a very funny film. It's a shocking film. I could not believe where this movie went, and I was there for it every step of the way. The Menu is a complete delight. Another one I can't wait to watch again. My number 8 choice is Bones and All, the cannibal love story that didn't really play much this award season, although I felt like it should have. Again, I think it's kind of a genre bias there. It has some really shocking, violent moments that I think might have put off some viewers. And then Mark Rylance has never been scarier. Like, he is really frightening in this movie. He was absolutely deserving of the Best Supporting Actor Oscar nomination for that performance. He has almost never been better than he is in Bones and All. And I was just really taken with the love story, with the cinematography. Those last 20 minutes are brutal and insane, and I'm never going to forget how this movie ends. I mean, it's not a movie for everybody, I guess, but I loved it. I thought it was really creative and interesting. Check out Bones and All. Number 7 is The Banshees of Inisherin. What a lovely, funny, weird movie this is. I've been so happy to see it nominated everywhere. It doesn't win very much outside of like at BAFTA. I do think Colin Farrell is giving like a career best performance in this movie. It's a quieter performance. It's not as big and dramatic as a couple of the other performances we've seen in the Best Actor category this year. But I do think Farrell is at a very high level here. I've been so happy to see what an amazing year he had in 2022. We're going to talk about him again in just a moment here with our number 6 choice. And I just love the cast in that movie. It's such a great script. It might win the Oscar for Best Original Screenplay, and it would be well deserved. It's just so well done. I loved how simple the story is in a way. It's not beating you over the head with 20 different storylines. It's a pretty simple film. But boy, is this just a movie that works, and it works beautifully. Number 6 is The Batman, another Colin Farrell movie, another great Colin Farrell performance. I wish he was in more of The Batman. When I walked out of that film way back last March of 2022, I thought, whoa, Colin Farrell, maybe he'll get an Oscar nomination for that performance. Like, he really transforms himself in that movie, physically, with his voice. I really loved what he was doing, and I just love the movie as a whole. I think everything's great about this film. I thought The Batman was the best Batman film we've gotten since 2008's The Dark Knight by Christopher Nolan. Matt Reeves is an astonishing talent. I've loved his work going back to Cloverfield and Let Me In. His 2 Planet of the Apes movies both made my top 10 lists of those respective years. And here we are with The Batman. I feel like this guy can't miss. Matt Reeves, I will just follow him wherever he wants to go. Whatever story he wants to tell, however small, however large. I'm hoping his Oscar nomination for Best Director is coming up here in the next few years. I just love his work, his attention to detail. Everything in The Batman I thought was gorgeous. Another film that should have been in the cinematography conversation at the Oscars. Robert Pattinson is great, Zoe Kravitz, Paul Dano, a terrific cast, great movie. It is everything you could possibly want in a Batman film. This was my favorite blockbuster of 2022. Number 5 is a rare tie. I usually don't give ties in top 10 lists and top 20 lists, but I thought this one was apt because this tie for number 5 is X and Pearl. I feel like those 2 movies go really well together. If you watch one, you kind of have to see the other. I do think Pearl kind of exists on its own plane. It's its own story. But when you watch Pearl and then you watch X after, they really do work well together. I think they're both at the same level of quality. I love horror films. It's my favorite genre. Almost every year we get one horror film on my top 10 list. Usually there's one that I really fell in love with. And last year there were 2 that I really adored, and they were X and then Pearl. X I saw near the beginning of the year, and then Pearl I saw in the fall. And I just love the way they work together. I love how one kind of informs the other, and the Mia Goth performance in Pearl, wow, it is just one of the great performances of 2022. Again, there's that horror bias, that genre bias. Mia Goth was never going to get an Oscar nomination for a movie like that. But what she did in that movie, I applaud. She was amazing. The movies are great. Even if you don't love horror films the way I do, I think they're 2 stories well told. Check them out. Have a great time. X and Pearl. My number 4 film is the movie that's going to win Best Picture at the Oscars. Everything Everywhere All at Once. What an extraordinary piece of filmmaking this is. Everything about this movie is so great, so creative. It felt like a movie we hadn't really seen before. All of the representation in the film, the blending of comedy and drama and action, it all works so well. And then there's Michelle Yeoh at the center of it, giving one of the great performances of any movie I've seen in years. I'm hoping she wins the Oscar. I love Michelle Yeoh. I have loved her since Tomorrow Never Dies and Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. And she is just giving it her all. The whole cast is giving it their all. These directors, the Daniels, are guys to watch. I'm so excited that the movie has been just outperforming everywhere this award season. I love, 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 love Everything Everywhere All at Once. Number 3 is All Quiet on the Western Front. I think this is one of the great war films we've had in many a year. I've really enjoyed some of the other adaptations of that book we've gotten, like the 1930s version, like the 1970s. They've all been solid, but nothing has come close to what was achieved in the newest adaptation of All Quiet on the Western Front. A tremendous lead performance, impeccable cinematography. You really just feel what those men are going through. And I just thought the film was a masterpiece of war cinema that will be studied for years to come. Do not miss All Quiet on the Western Front. Number 2 is The Fabelmans. Oh my gosh, did I adore The Fabelmans. I was like clutching onto my mom's hand. Many scenes of this movie in total delight. I have been a lifelong fan of Steven Spielberg, and he hasn't made a lot of great films in the last 20 to 25 years. Movies that really moved me, that I really was taken with. I thought he outdid himself with West Side Story in 2021, and then he followed it up with a movie I loved even more, The Fabelmans. Boy, did this movie speak to me. For many years, I was a young, aspiring filmmaker making movies with my friends. All of those scenes of young Sammy making his movies, I was just completely in awe. This movie I found a total delight. I loved the performances by everybody in the movie. I thought Gabriel LaBelle deserved to be in the conversation for Best Actor. What a great discovery he is. What great charisma on screen. I can't wait to see what happens with his career. Michelle Williams, Paul Dano, Judd Hirsch. I love that he got a Best Supporting Actor nomination. And then David Lynch. That final scene with David Lynch is definitely one of the top 3 scenes of 2022. Like, 2 of my all-time favorites, Steven Spielberg and David Lynch, coming together. I mean, my face was kind of hurting when this film ended, from smiling, from laughing. Like, The Fabelmans, for me, is just pure joy. And finally, my choice for the number 1 best film of 2022 is Tar, written and directed by Todd Field. This is an astonishing film. It's like in its own category in a way. I just think it's one of the great masterpieces we've gotten in the last decade. I knew an hour into the movie that this was probably going to be my favorite film of the year, and it was. I felt like it just kept getting more interesting as it went along. As the narrative started to unfold, as I started to realize what the movie was really about, I just found it fascinating. Cate Blanchett has never been better. She is just extraordinary in this movie. The cinematography by Florian Hofmeister is at a very high level. So many great specific choices with the cinematography all the way through. That long take in the Juilliard scene is one of the great scenes of last year, just amazing. And the way that the film ends is just so unexpected, so striking. I love absolutely everything about Tar, and it is my pick for the number 1 best film of 2022. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments below what were your favorite films of 2022. Do you agree with my picks, or do you think I have it all wrong? We'll see you next time.